And welcome to the League Down Under. It's the podcast that takes you inside the inner sanctum of our Dynasty League, and it asks the question, which team are you going to side with? I'm back, everyone. I'm your host, Ben, joined as always by my two co-hosts, Keeney and Hod. How are we travelling, guys?
Very good, mate, and that's the type of intro we've been accustomed to, Hod. What do you reckon he got for his little birthday cake? Was it a sprinkle, ice cream sprinkle?
Well, what do you mean what he got? He got one dropped off by Tibos from Macca's, the ice cream cake. How was your birthday, Benny?
It was good. It was very nice. Thank you very much. I did get the cheeseburger meal from McDonald's. A happy meal, if you will. Comes with a toy. Everyone's happy. And then had the little sprinkle cake. How good are those ice cream cakes from Macca's? Actually, probably the only one better is the Freddo one that you could get from like Woolies. And they had the little Freddo chocolate bits in. But no, it was a nice dinner out. And sorry, Tim, if some of us, maybe celebrate a birthday here or there. There's not many things going on in our life as we move into our 40s. So not there yet, just for anyone playing at home. But one day, Tim, you'll learn to appreciate the small things in life.
Yeah.
And I know you got
he does.
One.
Very good.
Very good.
Great. And how did you find listening to the pod, Ben, for the first time ever?
It was a strange experience tuning in on that Friday morning, and I watched the YouTube clip. I thought that was a better way to do it, just to see the full experience. A couple of little things that
feedback
that I noticed, a bit of feedback, but no, look, no intro video if anyone watches the YouTube clips, and then also the other bit of advice I gave you was, just make sure it's you and Hod on the screen before you introduce Jim. Otherwise, it's going to be an awkward few minutes, and Jim's just sitting there the whole time, just twiddling his thumbs while you two talk.
Yeah.
What did you say about man Jim? He was good. He came with some data, came with some facts. What do you think of Jim?
He did. He was an excellent mouthpiece for Jake. I thought he played that card very well. No, he did. He came on with... He was prepared. I liked it, actually. I think I said that to him before the recording started. Just make sure you come in prepared and don't hold back. And he was good. He stuck to his guns. And no, I think this is the best part about this league. And I think it's the reason why we've really launched into this style of the podcast, is that every single person in this league just has a very unique personality, and we need to get the people behind it, which does also lead us into jump on the Instagram page. We've got the League Down Under, and a few more teams. I'm still yet to see a Grouse or a real humdinger account. Are they building in the background?
Just getting a little bit of just a little bit of inspiration from others, and just going to take a little bit of everyone's, I reckon. And I'm just waiting.
It's just a real
not Jake's,
theft.
None of Jake's, because Jake's is
that's
terrible. But I like what Jim, I like what Benny, I like the DFF. I'm enjoying it. Obviously, our man.
There's a clear leader.
The executioner.
There's clearly a person with way too much time on their hands. That's which is great. That's what we need. I'm not as into the AI game. I'm not as ahead of the curve.
No.
Scoot certainly is. Jesus.
What about the name change for the Stallions on the pod, the Dim City Stallions? What were your thoughts on that?
Dim City Stallions.
Yeah, the new lunch order maybe?
Yeah. No, we sell many of them at the school that I work at.
That's actually well timed there, because the great man, Dim City, did his pancake challenge on the weekend, and
that's true.
He struggled mightily, and I think if there were dim sims on offer, he might have got through it very easily, but the pancakes were not.
So for anyone who doesn't know what we're talking about, we have a redraft league. Punishment is very similar to that Waffle House, all those sort of ones. 24 hours in the pancake parlour, an hour off for every pancake you eat. Now, Keeney, you've been fortunate enough to be part of this challenge. Steph, the DFF's been part of it twice. Read into that what you will. But there's varying strategies that we see in this pancake challenge. Keeney, you had a pretty interesting one, which you realised straight away you got wrong. Is that fair to say?
No doubt, but I also think there's no strategy that can actually prepare you for what you're about to face. Like Jim had a great strategy. We spoke about that off air, and his strategy was, I'm going to order 15 pancakes, squash them into the thinnest thing I can do, and eat them in 5 minutes. It's like, same calories are going in there, mate. Like, it doesn't actually matter.
I would, watching what Jim did, and I wasn't there, but I was following it very closely. I don't mind his strategy of just go as hard as you can early and don't allow your brain to catch up to what the hell's going on in your stomach. And clearly, Hod, he ate the 2 consecutive 6 stacks.
Yep.
And then just pushed the other 6 around his plate for a long time.
Yeah, well, I can say I got there at 10 and stayed for an hour, and he'd already completed 12. And it took him 4 hours to do the last 6. But I haven't done it, and I'm actually going to tank it this year because I really want to do it.
No, you don't.
But
good foreshadowing.
It was a very questionable mindset by Jim, because as soon as I got there, he's like, I'm set on 1:30. And I'm like, but the best was 12:30. We're trying to beat the record. And he was just content on just sitting there till 1:30 and getting through 18, which I just couldn't get around.
Also, looking at that final stack of 6, an interesting one is because he was pushing it around the plate, he ate half of it, but that still meant that he hadn't completed a single pancake out of the 6 because he ate. So he technically ate 3. But he didn't knock 3 hours off his time. No. So that's also a funny commitment to make, to just go, all right, I'm committed to this 6-hour chunk and I might not even be able to do it in the allotted time. So well done, Jim.
Very similar algorithm to his trade calculator he uses.
Yeah, nice. Exactly. Just cuts the pick value in half and trades them.
Well, we speaking of picks and trades, we had some news kick around in the league, so let's kick it off with that.
Every newsman in this city's laughing at us, and I don't like it.
And I'll just quickly get the screen ready there for anyone watching here. This is the trade that went down, and thanks to Dynasty Daddy, not a sponsor, for just being the visuals here. If you are watching this on YouTube, and if you aren't, jump on the League Down Under on YouTube. The production value's just gone through the roof.
It's a great platform for free. Jump on.
Dynasty Daddy. I thought you were talking about YouTube. I was like, people know about it by now, mate.
Both platforms are going well.
And feel free to sponsor anytime.
Yeah. YouTube, that is. And Dynasty Daddy, if you want to. So this saw Papa and our man Camo, who was the first team to be reviewed, and Jesus, lucky we reviewed his team first, because we did speak about pretty much his only player being JSN, and he is Gonski. So the trade saw, if you haven't got this on the screen at home, Papa walks away with JSN, that's Jesus, Super, and Jigba, and Camo's mid-2029 second. Mid, it's sort of projecting a mid, sorry, I'd just say a 29 second. And then Camo gets in return Marvin Harrison, the much maligned wide receiver from Arizona, and also gets a 28 first, a 29 first, and a 27 fourth, or we call that the Keeney special. Talk us through our thoughts on this trade. Who wants to kick it off?
Keeney, go ahead.
I will. I think it's great value for JSN, to be honest.
Yep.
Yeah, depending on where, as we know, depending on where the first land, and depending on what Marvin Harrison becomes, clearly that's the crux of the trade. But the reality is, I think Camo sold an elite asset for some nice picks and a player that could become better than what he is, but he has some serious risk attached to him in Marvin Harrison. He had a pretty poor year last year. There was rumblings a lot around last year around his commitment, his toughness, all those sorts of queries. And then to throw everything else on top, I think when you're dealing with this kind of player, why did Camo get a second on top? That's probably the big thing. And it's a 2029 second. You might say, yeah, that's 3 years away. But it's Camo's 2029 second, and he's only got 2 first rounders from now until then. So I don't see his team, and this was his last elite asset, so I don't see his team really changing that much in the next 2 years. By the time this second rolls around, this could be a top 5 second for sure. So the differential between that first and second mightn't be great, and you end up getting JSN for a Harrison and a first and a bit of a slide. So I think it's great value for Papa, especially a contender.
Yeah, I agree. And I think with Marv being at the wide receiver 21, there's a clear play here by Camo that he sees that he's going to increase in value. But for this to flip it in Camo's favour on a calculator or for value, he has to get into the top 10. So that's clearly where Camo sees him getting to, and that's your Drake Londons, your Tet McMillans, your Igbukas, around that mark by season's end. That's what it would have to be. But I'm more intrigued by mindset. I love diving into mindset, and I think this is Camo's had great success doing this sort of trade before. So just to rehash, I don't know how many years ago it was, but Camo had CD Lamb, so he flipped him to Matt and a 27 second and got in return Travis Etienne, JSN, funnily enough, a 25 second and a 26 first. So if we, in hindsight, look back at that trade, Camo did awfully well, and he's putting himself in a position to repeat that, and I think that played a big part in him pulling the trigger on this.
It's a fair shout.
You made a really, really good point, I thought, Hod, off air, and that was when you are moving a player of JSN's stature in Dynasty, you know, we're looking at the calculator on screen here. It's got Papa winning the trade by 1,000 points, whatever arbitrary number that is, but it's even slightly favouring Papa in the trade. Now, as you said, when you're trading a player of that ilk, you should be dominating this trade in a calculator. And we know calculators aren't everything, but if you're going to give away a pay, you've got to be willing to overpay, or at least only accept over. Like that, we had come on the pod and he said everyone's got a price. Well, he should have a really high price, and this just seems like a fair price to me, rather than a lofty one.
Well, it's put him in a position now where Marvin Harrison has to improve for him to win the trade, and I don't think you should put yourself in that position. Giving away JSN, you should have that banked into Marvin Harrison going to wide receiver 30 rather than having to go up to wide receiver 10.
Yep. So you pointed out there you couldn't quite understand the second. Well, if you actually look at the difference in value just based off this calculator, and look, they're all just a mathematical formula at this point, that basically is the difference, that mid-second. Otherwise, it would be a dead even trade. So that's really, according to this, the only thing that tipped it in Papa's favour there. Otherwise, it would have been dead even. But yeah, it's an interesting point that really, I think if you are going to, as a contender, if you're going to be buying the player who finished as the number 2 wide receiver on the season last year, who is only 24 years old, then, you know, a lot of people would say you have to pay up. And I haven't looked at it here, but you can get other leagues trades up there. And I bet you there'd probably be a fair few that would look pretty stacked to get JSN into the ranks there. Well,
he's probably a hard one to trade, to be fair. But I wonder if it'd be good to know, we'll get Papa on in the coming weeks, but it'd be good to know what that conversation was. Did it start out at Nico Collins? Was there a receiver here that he asked for that was a bit higher in value than Marvin Harrison? Because he is quite deep at receiver. He's got some young receivers and some good ones. Was it Drake London? Was it Nico Collins? Was there someone else instead of Marvin Harrison? They ended up falling upon that. But anyway, I think for a contender in Papa, this is a fantastic deal and puts him right in the picture.
Absolutely. If he wasn't already. It's just it's a depending on who it impacts in the league, but for the true contenders in this league, which is, you know, shaping to be 4 to 6, that really impacts everyone there. And I'm sure there were some unhappy rivals in the league when this went down.
I was going to say, Keeney being in Papa's division there, how did that make you feel seeing this trade go down?
Well, we'll probably get to it a bit later on in the pod, but it's like I've had Henry, CMC, and now JSN all just inserted into my division. We've got a very, very strong division. Someone's probably going to be unlucky. At best, they're going to be the 6th seed. So it doesn't help things, but it's just it's another reason why this division is going to be really, really tough to get through.
Hod, I'll flip the question. Being in Camo's division, how did you feel seeing this trade go down? And you also hold his first round pick, don't you?
I was going to say, it's not only just a division thing, but my first of Camos and his second just got a whole lot juicier. So, again, I loved it from that position, but all the thoughts we aired out before were my first for sure.
All right, I'm just going to quickly, because I have just done a quick search on some JSN trades around other leagues here, and 12-team Superflex league, so equivalent to us, JSN straight up for Brock Purdy and Devonta Smith. So
Seems like.
Yep.
does seem light. Obviously very team dependent, but I'd be pretty happy if I was getting JSN in that one. Another one was JSN for 226 firsts. That feels extremely light. Obviously, it doesn't tell you where the first. If it was Jordan Love,
That'd have to be 1 and 2. Jeremiah Love.
not Jordan Love, Jordan Love, I would. Jeremiah Love, you'd be pretty happy with that. And this one's an interesting one. So JSN and a 29 second for Marvin Harrison. That's the trade.
Oh, it got on there.
It got on there. It made the list.
Made the list. Well done. Well done.
I was like, this one's eerily similar. So no, but I tell you what, it's an interesting one. Like another one here, you've got JSN and a 28 third for Brian Thomas, a 26 first, and another 26 first. So, sort of around a similar mark. It's going for a young wide receiver who could be on the breakout, on the precipice of a breakout, and trying to jump off a potential regression season in JSN, because he did have a ridiculous season last year.
Yeah, I can only assume those multiple 26 firsts include
High.
the 101.
Yeah.
They have to. Plus,
You'd
you're probably
hope-
going
you'd
101
hope so.
plus a top 5 receiver, and that's what you're cashing it in for.
You
Anyway,
would hope so.
Interesting. Very interesting, boys.
All right, well, we are here to talk about the next team that we're reviewing. And we don't have to get anyone actually on the pod this week, because we're going to be reviewing one of our hosts here, the first host to get grilled. So I don't need to play the sort of who can it be at the door, the grouse. We are going to hear about your team, but let's give you, everyone gets a little intro song, and let's kick it off for the grouse.
All you need is love. All you need is love.
Which, for anyone playing at home, that is what Keeney sung to himself since we recorded the spinning of the lottery wheel in was it our first episode or second episode? Can't remember. It was a while back now. You've been singing that to yourself ever since, and then you sung it all the way to when you drafted old Jeremiah Love at the 101.
Love is all you need, boys.
Love is all you need. Welcome to the pod as a guest as well as a host.
Yeah.
So we'll flip it around now. Hod and I are going to grill you with some questions here about the makeup of your team.
Well, I think it's important to, in the theme of Jeremiah Love, it's important to just ask the direct question straight up, Benny. But have we got something to...
Oh, that's true, actually. Shit, I wasn't ready. All this prep, here we go.
Boys.
No, we actually, I did talk about that wheel of the lottery pick here, and we're going to reveal something to the listeners, and if you haven't, if you're not on YouTube, you have to jump on YouTube now, because this is going to mean absolutely nothing to you on an audio medium. But we have some footage of when we spun the wheel, so I'll just get it ready for us now. Here we go.
Oh, Scoot.
There we go. It means absolutely nothing to you if you're listening, just some weird sound effects. So jump on YouTube, League Down Under. Keeney, is that pretty much how it panned out?
Well, I thought what you were going to do is you're going to go back and find the first 3 test runs where it came out Camo 3 times, and then we recorded it came out for me.
So this is the important question for those who weren't on YouTube. I'll sum the video up very quickly. Keeney, did you rig the draft?
Absolutely not.
Did doing the trial spins increase the probability of the grouse hitting the first pick? Look at him backpedaling. Wow. He almost just hip and shouldered Barassi in the back there.
Absolutely not. If you go to the casino and you're one of those people that go, it's been black 5 times, it's due for a red, you're sadly mistaken, and that's why the casinos have billions of dollars, my friend. It's got
I
nothing
don't know about
to
you,
do with
Hodge.
prior events.
This sounds a little bit like.
These are my confessions.
Do you think that the DFF's ever put any money on Black?
No.
Never.
Actually, yes.
I was a
He
bit
doubles
worried where
down.
you were going with that analogy when you first launched into it, but I'm glad I went with the casino route. Yeah, look. So you are very big on probability. Does doing 3 practice runs versus 1, does it alter anything?
No. They're independent. They're independent events, Ben. So
I think it's a loaded question, very smartly asked by Ben, because there's 2 of us here that are big players in next year's lottery. So I think that we'll be watching very closely from the start of that video that there are no practice runs.
other than
I also
fantasy lottery gods, I don't know if anyone else is impacted.
I also happen to know that you're big on the movie 21 and you do like a bit of card counting theory as well. So if there's ever anyone who worked out a way to possibly rig something that's statistically even but just tilt it slightly in your favour, if there's ever anyone in this league that would go for that, it would be the old stats man himself.
Well, what do they say, boys? Back self-interest because at least it's trying.
Well, they might say that, but the fantasy gods might also say, since you rigged the draft, that's why McCaffrey, Henry, and JSN have now got into your division in the couple of weeks following. So, but enough of that fun. We'll get into the team because that's what we're here to do. And I think this is one of the most intriguing teams in the EDL this year. So for those who want to jump on board the Grouse, go ahead because I think you're in for a fun ride. But I want you to answer this one for me because I'm pretty intrigued. You have got a nice position with 327 firsts. You asked Jim, hypothetical, if you started 1 and 4, where do you go? Well, when will you pull the trigger on being a true contender this season, or has the last couple of weeks of trades impacted how you're approaching the season?
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. It probably has. It's always an interesting one, the timing around trading. And I think a few of the main contenders in my division, as I said at the top, like it's just such a loaded division. I actually don't know where I sit right now. I probably 4th, but who knows? Like if I get lucky, maybe I can get to 2nd. I think Matt's clearly the best out of anyone. But it's probably my view right now is probably keep my powder dry. It's one thing I've got on those other 3 guys is they don't have first round picks and I do. So it's a little bit for me more around gathering a bit more info around where I sit before I would use them. I'm not going to be afraid to use them. But at the moment, I don't think there's any rush for me to do so. I've got my own, so it'll be a little bit like if I feel like I've had a bad run of injuries and I'm not going to get there just because I'm faced with 3 juggernauts in the division, it's going to be a lottery pick. Well, I'll probably just sit tight and take it to the 2027 draft, boys, which you both dominate and you both know is an exciting looking class.
It sure is, but as I said, intriguing. It's a great position to be in because there's a lot of luck involved in this great sport we do. So if you do get some bad luck to start the year, you have those picks to fall back on, whereas the other contenders in this league don't for a while. So so you kind of touched on it, but how does being in such a competitive division, so maybe take us back to before the recent trades, but just being in such a competitive division, perhaps the second best in world sport, impact how you approach rebuilding and contending, or when do you fire and when do you sit back?
It was probably the first strategy piece was probably more just trying to target one specific draft and having a level of a monopoly over that draft. I mean, a lot of teams have done that, I reckon, over the last 3 or 4 years. Certainly Manny did it, Camo did it this year. I think last year I had most of it. And it's all about, as you guys know, like it's all about trying to get as many lottery picks as you can. Like it's the pointy top 5. I'm a bit different to Jim. I actually value first round picks. I know Jim doesn't, but I actually do. And those top 6 ones are valuable. They can really turn your team around. Like lucky enough to get Genty in, McMillan, took Hampton. Like if I just kept those 3, like immense value, they just increase in value straight away. So that's the key to rebuilding. I think last year was a blessing because the other three guys in my division were so much better than me. It was a no-brainer just to sit there and go to the draft and just bank in the young talent and see where it takes me. But then, like mid-season, Hod, we did a trade that I sort of wanted to balance that out and give myself an opportunity to potentially compete this year, depending on what happened in this year's lottery. And I was lucky enough to get that pick one. And now it's the hardest thing is it's so tempting, boys, when you've got a team like that is capable of winning, but you've got other teams in your division, but you've got some first round capital. It's so tempting to pull off a trade before the season starts, but I've just got to try and stop myself from looking at what I could do because I've clearly got a hole in, a few different areas in my team, which we'll go through. But the smart thing probably is just to sit tight.
Well, last one from me on this one. You say the lottery picks are the strength, or obviously it's a game of probability and they give you the bigger chance. But in this year's or next year's upcoming draft, these late picks are extremely high value as well. So you're in this position of a unique draft where you've got Jake's, you've got Tim's, and then you've got yourself. So all in the back half of the first round. But currently the 108 in next year's draft is more value than the 101 to 103 for any draft that hasn't happened right now. That's just the trade value chart. That just shows how strong this draft is. So you could absolutely, I think that the closer we get to this draft, people will understand that. And I think you'll be in a unique position where you can flip those late firsts for possibly they might come across as early firsts in any other draft.
Yeah, that is very interesting. And I know that you, Hod, are very, very keen on a couple of those bad boys as well.
Well, it's interesting. The lottery is the scary part. And yes, it's top loaded because the amount of quarterbacks, but I'm actually quite excited about, not to turn this on me, but more about the draft. It's going to be the value is in the early second, which is where you're going to get first round players. But yeah, it's an incredibly healthy position for you to be in and an exciting one to have a chance to see where your team's at a quarter of the way through the season and then be able to pivot real quick.
Hey, Keeney, did watching Timos and Papa fire off those pre-season trades, did it feel a bit like being at an auction? I know it's been a while since you ventured to many auctions looking to get into the property market. Did it feel like you sort of went there, you're excited about the prospect of the season, and then all of a sudden someone just, within the first bid, just blows you out of your entire budget in one go, and you're like, all right, well, I'm glad I bothered to go through all those inspections and get the bank check all ready, and I'll just tuck my tail between my legs and go.
Yeah, it's one of the most depressing things you can be involved in. There's no doubt about that. Yeah, a little bit, just because they were so strong to start with, and then they just got even stronger. Timos's team, we'll get to that in a bit, but his team's interesting. It's a real chips-in move. As we've spoken about before, I think good for both teams. I think really good for you, Ben, in terms of the value you got. But yeah, I just think realistically, I'm a fair way behind those two. And then Matt is just, his team's ridiculous. So
yeah, I
just can't see him not being in the top two seeds. So it's tough, but we'll see.
All right, well, time for a roster dive here for your roster. Before I get Dynasty Daddy up, and hopefully you're not looking at it off to the side here, I just want to get your take on what's your biggest strength in your team right now, and then also on the flip side, where would you say your weakness is?
I'm not looking at it. I would say my biggest strength is probably, and I've targeted trying to get a bit younger in receiver. Clearly, I've been lucky having pick one in the last 2 years, so my running back room's healthy in that sense because they're both young and both high value in Genty and Love. So I'd say, running back with a little bit of depth there in Henderson. Hopefully he improves. He sort of went backwards a little bit, but running back and wide receiver would be my two strengths. And clearly, I mean, it's obvious, tight end. I think I've got Brenton Strange, but that's about it. I took Claire in the draft, but that's probably the one obvious missing piece in my team at the moment. And QB is pretty shallow, to be fair.
Okay, well, that's a fair assessment here as I just get Dynasty Daddy up on the screen for your team. And you did speak before saying to Jim about how you value the top end of the first round there, and just look at your top two players according to that. With regard to trade value, is Ashton Genty and Jeremiah Love sitting pretty nice there. Also, Pat Mahomes is sitting in there. But Ted McMillan, he's certainly been a riser in value. Had a very good rookie season, and a lot of people expecting him to hold that value in terms of, I guess, his competition in Carolina. QB is a bit questionable there, but then you've got Garrett Wilson, who, look, it's fair to say that the talent we all know is there. It's just if the situation will eventually ever get around him. But I mean, he's 25 years old, so the sky's the limit for him. And another one, and you spoke about it last week, AJ Brown, who's gone up in value again because of the situational change there. He's gone into a high volume passing offense. And clearly happier than what he was last year moving into an offense like that. So you've got some serious value here. Trevion Henderson, I'm sure you'd be hoping makes that step up that people kind of assumed he would in his rookie season. He didn't get really used an awful lot. And then you've also got some veterans to balance it out there. Devontae Adams. And then when it starts to drop off, Chris Godwin's another veteran there. Stephon Diggs still... and then some high upside players, Dylan Sampson. So, look, you are right. Dynasty Daddy said your biggest need is QB tight end. Probably because Pat Mahomes and Jared Goff is a bit thin. If one of those guys goes down, obviously Jared Goff's kind of, you're banking on a sort of QB 10 to sort of 15 range is a realistic outcome for him, depending on how... I mean, he has higher upside, but... yeah, that's kind of a realistic range of where he's being ranked. And then Pat Mahomes coming off the injury as well. So it's a little bit shaky there. And then, running back. Actually, it does have your... I think it actually has your picks as your second highest ranked asset, just with those 327 first that Hod touched on there, which you could turn into player value.
Before we dive into the player takes from Keeney... what I do like about this roster is I think in Dynasty we can go a bit too heavy on the younger age demographic. And for a true contender, I think you'll find most teams have a nice balance of youth, but also they have your older vets that are going to be just 1 year plays, but that they are perfect for a title contending team. And then you have your bridge gap in the middle, which should be your nucleus to build around. So that's what I see in that roster. There is the older vets, but there's also the youth coming through and then a nice chunk of middle ones. But tell us, who you're rationally high on from the Grouse.
Yeah, I had a good think about this, and it's probably not one you're expecting, but I'm actually, you mentioned him, Ben, I'm actually irrationally high on Jared Goff this year. I think it's an interesting one because he's a bit older, but I just think last year was a bit of a shit show in Detroit. Their offensive coordinator was all over the shop. I think Dan Campbell ended up calling plays halfway through the year. They obviously lost Ben Johnson, and it was a bit of a transition year offensively for him. So they get in Drew Petzing, I think it is, from Arizona, who comes in and look, he's been more of a, from memory, he's been more the one that's sort of got Trey McBride going a little bit, so a bit more tight end heavy, and it will certainly help Gibbs this year with no Montgomery. But I do think off play action, he's going to be super dangerous. They've got a ton of weapons. I just think it's a positive regression year, even though his stats were okay, but it was just one of those years for Detroit. They went 9-8. I expect them to be bounce back and be pretty strong again, play in the dome. I'm just really high on him. I think he can get back to, you said 10 to 15. I think he can easily be top 10 QB this year. Yep. So I think as a QB2, that's a nice, and we've got some thoughts on Mahomes, but as a QB2, I'm really happy with that.
Can you just clarify for me, is positive regression, can you just say progression? I mean, does that mean the same thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Depends which way it goes, I suppose. Regression to the mean depends where the mean's normally in the middle. It depends where you're going up or down.
Regress normally means to go back.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway, I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay.
Sorry for this is
that's a bugbear of yours, isn't it?
We're still live.
Yeah, I know. Sorry for all the people that just wanted to hear about Keeney's team and not the English language. Hod.
Yes.
Did you?
What are your thoughts on that, Hod? Do you agree?
What are your thoughts on Jared Giff?
Yeah, no, I love it. I think Drew Petzing is we'll probably get to this later, but I'm pretty high on Sam Laporta, which Papa owns because of this reason. He's a bit of a tight end whisperer, which I love. But I think you're spot on. I think you're spot on about Detroit. They're going to be a huge bounce back candidate. I think worst to first is really in play here with this team. Bit of a chip on their shoulder, and Jared Goff will be leading that. Just one on Jared Goff though. It gets forgotten a little bit, but the trade with him and Cam Ward. So in Dynasty, well, it was for the pick, but that's what it ended up being. In Dynasty, Cam Ward's about the 16 mark, Goff's about the 20 mark, but you're saying the contending view for Jared Goff probably outweighs that. Are you still happy with that, having Goff instead of potentially Cam Ward?
Yeah, I think so. I think Goff's just a more stable asset at this point. Ward, I acknowledge Ward could absolutely go past him, or he already is, I assume, and can go right past him. But I just think the QB2, I'm happy with that as a bit of a contender.
Very nice. All right, well, let's look at the other side. Which player are you on your roster are you most worried about losing value this season and possibly beyond?
Can he lose any more value than what he started with? I'm talking about Travis Hunter, who might just play corner. So he's, as I said to you boys, I'm 5 steps ahead. When we turn into a defensive league, I'm going to have one of the great starting players.
Unanimous.
Yeah, yeah. So look, that's the concern. The hope is that they spend an awful amount of draft capital to go up and get this bloke, and they just cannot turn him into just a bloody small corner. Like, they just can't. He's got to provide more value than that in Jacksonville, and he obviously had injuries last year, and the talent's there on that side of the ball. So you just want him to at least get on the field for a little bit and see if he can just be a high-impact, high-efficiency player, just play 50% of snaps on offense and be efficient. That's probably my best bet at the moment, but reality is, if I had my time again, I wouldn't be... I didn't draft him in the first place, and then I decided to go after him afterwards.
Can you go into that trade? Just the thought process about acquiring him. Was he a target for you, or was that just a throw in on value at that point because he did have a lot?
Yeah, it was. I remember at the time when I drafted the player, I think I had 4 or 5 picks early, and I remember at the time I thought the value was all in running back, and I had real concerns on Hunter. I just thought it was too ambiguous to take the punt on him at that time, so I just let someone else take him. And I took RJ Harvey, and I always wanted to move him because he's a bit older dynasty asset. I always wanted to move him to a contender, and I thought at the time it's exactly what Tim needed. Tim needed a running back, not a receiver. It was a bit like this year when he took Sadiq. He just took best available, but worked it out later. So it was a bit of a similar sort of thing. We talked for a little while around it, and we ended up adding. He ended up adding Hampton to the deal. So I think he's done well out of it. But I got a couple of picks back, which was good.
Yeah. Your team would be pretty nice to have Genty, Love, and Hampton sitting on the roster. That'd be a pretty nice trio to be rolling out. But they're the swings you got to take. And you know what? Like, that's not to say that Hunter might not have some upside later on or in the near future of his career, but you are, like you mentioned, you're already ahead of the game in that IDP format in case we ever do at one point switch to the individual defensive players. All right, well, let's say that you were able to steal a player off another roster there. Who have you got in your sights?
Just before you answer this, every team that we've reviewed this year has gone on to make a trade. So for the listeners, I don't know if it's been this exact segment or question, but
that's a good point.
It keeps happening. So this is your pitch, Keeney.
Yep. And I tried, I was thinking about going a bit niche here, but I just can't. It's got to be, and I've inquired about 15 times, so this isn't going to happen, but it's got to be Brock Bowers, McBride, or Laporta at a pinch. Like one of those 3 I'd love, just to round out my team. So I've asked Manny, I don't think there's, as you talked about a few weeks ago, there's probably not a price high enough for him at the moment. But the executioners with McBride, the punishers with Laporta, I think it is, if they're listening, and I've got some picks. So the problem is, as you guys know, like, you're taking these players off contenders to become a contender yourself. Yeah. It's very, very hard. They almost only want to sell them to players that aren't going to impact them from a contention point of view. So it makes it really hard. So that's probably why I had to throw at the stumps at a tight end in this year's draft, because realistically, trading for one might be hard. Manny's probably makes sense because he's sort of, I don't know where Manny's team is at. But I also think if I'm Manny, I'm building around Brock Bowers, so I'm not trading him. So anyway, we'll wait and see.
Yep, very good. All right, well, we'll keep the talk of trades going here. What, in your opinion, and we've sort of showcased a few of these for each of the teams, what's your best trade that you've ever managed to achieve in this league? And you do love a trade, you do love a sneaky little, all right, but if you throw in the fourth for the third, just as a little bit of sprinkles on top, what is your favourite trade all time?
I've got a few honourable mentions. Is that okay?
Of course you do. Go for it.
Well, firstly, I traded N'Keal Harry to Camo. This is like in the first year. I look back on this. I traded N'Keal Harry for DFF second, which was probably a nice juicy pick.
Yep.
And he went on to score 40 fantasy points for the rest of his career. So that one tickled my fancy a little bit. And then the other one was I actually sold Damian Harris to the DFF for a first rounder.
I remember this.
And it's not so much that the value I got, which was great. It's more just I got a deal done with the DFF. So it's just a massive highlight in my Dynasty career.
Well, I'm going to argue that you've scarred the man for life. This is why he walked away with the philosophy of never trade, because he just felt absolutely fleeced by you. I think you've scarred him and therefore set back potentially the league being able to trade with that man in any time in the future.
Well, there's a clear takeaway here to the members of our league, is that when Keeney trades a Patriot to you, they're going to dive in stock. So when he gets sick of AJ Brown's either ways this year, do not take him, because he'll be retired, or Henderson.
Yeah.
The main one, I think, and we probably should have talked about it last week, but Philip Lindsay for a first was top shelf trading. That was the undrafted free agent from Denver. And look, it was at a time when we got to all put our hands up, acknowledge we probably all didn't really understand the true value of what a rookie first was. We probably did, but not to the level we do now. So it was a bit of good timing and a bit of Jim not valuing the picks that highly, and maybe I didn't have a moral compass that morning.
So sorry, I missed who was the Damian Harris trade partner?
DFF.
The DFF.
So we've got Camo, DFF, and Jim. I love my division.
You're next.
I love my division.
I also, Keeney, I found the video of when you pulled the trigger on all three of those trades, and this is what you had to say.
Oh, boy.
He's very excited with your work there.
Thank you.
Well, let's keep the trade theme going on here. What has hindsight unearthed as your worst trade in the 7 years of the EDO?
Easy one. This one. Russell Wilson for 3 firsts. I was very excited about, like we talk about at the start, like going all in, and that was the missing piece for me. And you got to remember at the time, like he was a top 5 QB most times. He was injured. But
that was Denver?
No, it was Seattle. It was like the final year of Seattle.
Final year of Seattle? Yeah.
He had 1 year left in Seattle. It was one of those ones where he was playing poor, but I just thought it would be he'd bounce back, a bit of regression and all that, but it turns out he was just finished. So 3 firsts for him, and I looked at it. He never finished higher than QB 14 again in his career. So that's a disaster trade, that is.
Do you know who those 3 firsts went on to be? Have you tracked it that far?
I don't.
Okay.
I'll have it for next week's pod, I promise. It went to Manny. Manny probably traded him for Joe Burrow, then traded Joe Burrow 5 weeks later. God damn, that guy does some weird shit.
Well, speaking of trades, this is one of the favourite questions that we ask every team that we get on, is who in the league do you refuse to trade with or find it awfully difficult? And then on the other flip side, who do you actually enjoy having trade discussions with?
Yeah, it's probably a common theme. I reckon Timos can be challenging with his value, but with that said, I've had some trades with him, but initial discussions can sometimes be challenging with the DFF. Fuck me. DFF, if you're listening, mate. Sorry, I'm passionate about this.
Not on, mate.
Seriously, mate. Open your just have some perspective on things and just think about things. Like it doesn't all have to be the way you want it to be.
Well,
you can just say no and maybe like the counter button is there for a reason. If there's some part of it that you like and maybe you go, oh well, what about this? Feel free. But it's a flat no normally.
My follow-up question was, do you regret not trading in Clyde Edwards-Helaire for 5 first-round picks that the DFF set as his bar?
Yeah. Who was the other one? There was a wide receiver from Jacksonville that was similar. Lavishka Chenault, that's right. That was great times. Like I think that was 3 firsts that he refused. But like the best part about Dynasty is trading. Like it's whether you get it right or you get it wrong, it's good fun to drop a bomb on the league and go, righto, this is my opinion and that's your opinion and let's go. That's the
everything about the league is trading.
Don't shy away from that.
Absolutely. I do love. There is, I would love to trade with the DFF more, but it's impossible. And I just find myself, I just find myself like looking at it, going, yeah, that makes sense, but I'm just not feeling like being told no today.
So instead we had to come up with a podcast and we can just like subtly plant ideas into his head so that he comes up with them.
The one good thing, I suppose, is if you are fortunate enough to get a DM from the great man, you've got some leverage.
Yeah,
you've got some leverage. You know
he
wants him. But you know he wants him. So you can really, really tighten the screws.
All right, we've let's get on for this is probably the best segment, but just your perspective of the league. We've got a big four sort of forming, I'd say, with a few frisky teams like yourself that could challenge. Who is the biggest pretender in this league for this coming season?
Can I first say, just in terms of generally with the league, very proud of the league. I reckon it's a really good league. This is just my little rant. I reckon it's a great league. I reckon this podcast is putting it back on the map. I'm glad we're doing this, boys. Because I reckon last year was a bit of a down year, but I reckon the activity's back. I reckon the league in general, we got 12 bloody rippers in our league, and it's hard to find. And I don't see any of them leaving unless Jim's team becomes defunct in 5 years. I don't see any other.
The defunct City Stallions.
Yeah, the defunct. Well, the executioners put him in for the glue factory, didn't he, in his AI meme? So that might be a chance. But anyway, back to your question. The most overrated, and I think it's. I pumped him up before, but I think it's the Pappers Punishers, and that might be going out on a limb, but I actually think like if you go through his team a bit, like let's go through his team, boys. I don't know if you want to put it up on Dynasty Dad. You probably don't need to, but like there's some concern for me at running back. There's a little bit of concern. We can talk through it. Bucky Irving's got some lingering injuries. He had them all last year in the off season, and there's some. It's not a great sign when the coach is sort of saying he might be ready for week 1, he might not. And he's a big piece of his team. Jonathan Taylor last year, love him, had a monster year, had 20 touchdowns, including 5 games where he had 3 plus. Like there's regression coming for our man JT this year. And then we obviously know Kyron Williams is getting rolled by Blake Corum. Otherwise, why would you trade Harold Fannin for him? So I think there could be some regression. He did pick up JSN on a nice price, we know that, but there could be some regression for him too. Like I don't think you can expect him to go back to what he was last year. And then who are the superstar receivers for him? There's just a few little chinks there, and that's what keeps me interested in our division, just because I think he's the one that has a few chinks in his armour. That's being a little bit facetious because his team's very good. But I think the rest are rated properly, and he's the contender that I can see just going the wrong way for him. He will not like me saying that.
Well, for anyone watching on YouTube right now, I've just put up what Dynasty Daddy also thinks of his roster, and it's got him ranked 4th overall. Now that's counting for draft picks, but then his starting rank, it's got 4th, and it's got yourself, Keeney, just sitting 5th with the overall. So it's got you two very close. The biggest difference is it says your draft picks. Obviously, tight end as well is another big need there and QB. But that's being said, it's a big call. It still has both of you listed as contenders.
Well, I
It's
didn't
got
want
a
to come
couple
on
of
and
frisky
say
teams.
I didn't want to come on and say your team or Manny's. Like it's obvious.
Manny's just copping straight.
Well, what is his team? I can't wait to talk to him.
It's frisky. Have a look at it.
Can we get him on next week?
He is on next week
Oh,
if
is he?
he's available.
Oh, excellent.
Yep.
I'm going to do 3 days of prep.
That's that's really interesting about Papa's team. He's probably not one that I saw coming for that answer. Maybe I've just glossed over the team a bit too much, but just looking at it there on Dynasty Daddy, he's two of his. We would suspect Caleb will keep taking a step forward because of the Ben Johnson factor. They've got weapons galore, and he showed a bit last year. But Hurts is a big question mark. With losing your best receiver, that can never be good for a quarterback who already has some passing concerns. And then CJ Stroud, Papa is probably in a good position where he's playing for his next contract and career because he's had such a poor showing recently. But even so, at his best, he's one of those quarterbacks that has to throw for 35, 40 touchdowns to be relevant because he doesn't run. So it's an interesting spot for the Punishers. I'm now very much looking forward to getting him on and having it out with you, Keeney.
He'll hate that I said that too.
Yep. I can't wait because we do know that he's going to be listening to this at about 6:01 a.m.
Yeah.
Or even earlier when it drops.
Yeah, that's a flat 4:30 morning, isn't it? Like just copping that
No,
4:30.
that'll have, he'll be the most productive he's ever been. He'll be fiery.
All right,
Sorry, mate.
Katie, let's keep it rolling about your take on the league here. Which owner is one bad season away from a full emotional rebuild?
Well, I don't think you'll get too emotional about it, but if the wheels fall off the straight cash homies with their two old running backs and no draft picks in the next 3 years, they're an interesting team. Malik Neighbours, not the preseason you would be after. Puka Nakua, weird rumblings out of the Rams about not picking up his 5th year. Strange. There's just a couple of things with his team. Again, I'm probably trying to be a bit cute here, but he's the one that doesn't have draft picks and is a bit older in some certain spots that if it goes the wrong way, do you just blow it up and go, I'm in a division with Matt, Papa, my team might be a bit better. Like, is there a world where he just goes, well, I've got to start again? Now, is Timos cut out for that world? Would be my question to him. I don't know if he is.
You're not suggesting that he logged on, made a trade for two aging running backs, and then he's now logged off until the playoffs roll around day?
There's a bit of that about it. I just don't know if rebuilding's for him. You got to have a certain, I don't know, you got to be a certain way to do it.
Well, that's
And
a bit
is
of what I
Timos-
was wondering about Camo is like, has he made this trade of JSN because he doesn't anticipate to watch a lot of NFL for the next couple of years? He's like, I'll just kick everything down the road when I'm going to be ready to invest my time again.
It changes you as a person, Hod, as you'd know. And Camo's experienced that, and Ben, you're about to experience it hopefully in the next 12 months. It's so enjoyable. It's a weird one to describe, and I think the DFF's had it right the whole time.
Well, let's get on to your favourite question, Keeney. I know you love asking this.
Yep.
Your Monday morning routine. Over in Australian time, it starts at 3, gets to 4 and then 5 a.m. But talk us through your start of your season when you're amped for it. 3 a.m. I know you don't sleep a lot, if at all. Talk us through your 3 a.m. routine.
Love getting up. Love getting up 5 minutes before it starts. Have changed in this space a lot. Used to be religiously on the phone checking scores, and now I try and just let it all happen without... The biggest change I've made is I used to look at what my opposition team was, and I used to just death ride them on red zone, and it's no way to live, and it only makes it worse when it goes against you. So being blissfully unaware of who is scoring against you is probably the biggest game changer and biggest piece of advice I'd give anyone out there. Don't follow your players, but don't worry about or don't know what you're up against, and you'll have an enjoyable morning.
Mm.
Good shout.
And no, it absolutely is. And are you Are you on the chat? Because I'm finding it's the same culprits, but you can get pretty good updates on our Facebook chat in the EDL. I often don't get up as early, but then you'll wake up and see there's 50 notifications in that group. So it's a bit of a live commentary. But do you get involved in that at all?
Yes and no. I sort of, when it gets to a certain point, I'll check the chat. I sort of mute it up until like 5 or 6 a.m. and then I'll get involved in it.
Yeah.
But I'll have little side convos with Ben probably off to the side or Matt or whoever else I'm talking to. So
yeah, you normally can get a fair read on who's awake when you send a message and then you either don't hear back for a couple of hours or you get an instant response because that person's awake.
The eyes emoji.
The eyes emoji is a good one. All right, Keeney, this question here, I'm going to throw to you on this one, and Jesus, I hope you haven't consulted AI like every other bloody guest that we've had on here. No. If your franchise had a headline at the end of the season, what would it read? Please don't give me a ChatGPT version.
I can honestly say I haven't gone to AI for any of this shit because I don't like it. So I love AI.
He's a bit loose as a guest, Hod. Have you noticed that?
Sorry, I've been swearing a bit.
He's been swearing an awful lot as a guest. He's just loosened right up.
Gonna have to have an explicit warning.
He's just relieved he's not hosting this week. No, I think that's what it is.
It's enjoyable. No, it'd be something around. I don't have a catchy, punchy headline, but it's something around Ashton Genty. I think he's going to have a big year and a big shift in his head coach, his offensive line, all of that sort of stuff. I think the Raiders could be sneaky this year, maybe. I think he's going to be the main beneficiary, and he will catapult himself into the conversation around Dynasty running back 1, 2, or 3.
So it's still not really much of a headline there.
Well, it is.
Well, the headline
Jesus,
could be...
Genty.
There we go. There we go.
Well, the headline definitely is on that take that he's not Trent Richardson. Like we may have thrown around last year. Yeah, it was. No, I agree. I'm on the Jesus Genty train. I don't know if we're going to get a good answer with this just based on that last one, but give us one bold prediction for your own team, the Grouse, this season.
No, I'll trade the biggest bold prediction. I'll trade all 3 first for Brock Bowers and go on a title run.
Oh, I like that.
And then immediately regret it, probably.
Got to be realistic though. There'll be a little 4th back your way, surely, if you if you do
maybe 2.
a trade like that. All right, Keeney, this is your chance here, mate. You don't have an Instagram page. Bloody pick up your game and start one soon. If it's not out before this episode airs, I'm going to be sorely disappointed. So that's where I'm going to light a fire up your backside there. But this is your floor. You need to sell your team, and then you actually need a page for listeners to get onto and follow to actually build that following. Off you go.
That's fair. It's fair. And the page will be coming, and the page will be as good as my lineup. We've got Patty Mahomes, boys. This is just the tip of the iceberg. The running back room, it's hard not to love it, boys. Jeremiah style. And I tell you what, we are hoarding more young talent than the DFF hoarded toilet rolls in the pandemic. There's no doubt about that. And by the way, the amount of draft capital we've got, we got more than the Gym City Stallions, who just gives them away like they're expired bloody coupons at the Pancake Parlour, because that's where we end up again next year. So get ready, boys. This is the team to be on. It won't just be a good year this year, boys. It'll be Grouse.
Well done.
Not bad.
I sort of half was making that up as I was going, but better than AI.
Hey, no, it was good. I mean, it wasn't met with the same monotone reading off a monitor like we've had from other people to sign off. It had a bit of gusto and passion about it, so...
Got to drive home.
Now, the Dim City Stallions gave us a neigh. Can you give us a bit of a bird, a bit of a grouse?
Boy.
Oh. Please get on YouTube, ladies and gentlemen.
Watch on YouTube for that one. Oh, all right, mate. Thank you for coming on and being a guest on this one. A bit too loose for my likings at time. I might have to go through the edit there if I do want to keep this to a PG ranking and edit out some of the F-bombs you just dropped. A little casual nature there, but...
Rated R.
Rated R for grouse.
So, Manny next week, boys. What are we doing? I'm back
Manny
in the
next
host mode.
week.
What are we doing?
Correct. I mean, you threw enough shade at him. I think this is the perfect time to get him on and talk us through just what he is doing down at the Sensible Haircut land there. We'll get someone from my division on the pod. We'll start to unpack that one there. But any final words before we sign off, Hod?
No, not at all. This is the team to watch, as I keep saying. Enjoyed it tonight. Enjoyed the host being the guest, as always. And please jump onto YouTube and watch the end there, even if it's just a snippet. See the grouse emblem.
Still going here as I sign off. Keep going on. Do it through the whole outro. Go. Thanks for listening to another episode of The League Down Under. Keep going. And we'll catch you all next week. See you later.
That bird's dropping to the floor.
Peace out.